Alright, so today we're going to learn how to cook three different types of vegetables, three different ways, including this Mexican calabaza. Um, kind of like a zucchini, but it's not. We're going to do the broccoli and asparagus. So, first things first, on the broccoli, as you can see, it's kind of dry at that edge right there. We're going to go ahead and take that off. I'm going to show you how to cut it properly, or at least how to achieve florets. It's pretty easy. We're just going to be following the lines. As you can see, there, it's pretty dry. We got to get all that out of there. So yeah, grab your knife, take that off. I cut about a quarter of an inch in, and for the florets, this is fairly simple. You see those gaps there. We're going to put our knife between that, and it should come off fairly easy. As you can see, my knife just goes right through that. We're gonna do the same with the other side. And as we cut, we're simply just gonna turn the broccoli head over and then keep cutting. And you're gonna notice that the stems are gonna get pretty small as you keep cutting to eventually you reach the top, and the top florets are gonna be smaller than the initial ones. So at this point, it's up to you if you want to match them all or if you want to have them mismatched. It's fine. Just keep an eye on them because they will overcook. So there you go. Now these are your florets. Pretty easy to cut, and you can still cut these in half. But what about the stem, right? So the stem you can also eat and you can also cut. We're gonna go ahead and cut it fairly thin because this is a little bit more dense. As you can see, it's kind of like woody. We're gonna go at an angle, just little slices, like little tokens, and that should cook just fine with the broccoli florets. All right, so we're gonna toss this in with the florets. So for cooking the broccoli, we're gonna have a pot of boiling water. Once it reaches the boiling point, we're gonna add dehydrated ocean water, aka salt, and then we're gonna just go ahead and toss the florets in there and toss the stem in there. That should cook at about the same rate. But key here is for you to test the broccoli at about the minute and a half, 2 minute mark. Depending on your stove, obviously it all matters. But in about a minute and a half, 2 minutes, the broccoli should be ready. One of the key signs is that it's bright green. Once it's ready, go ahead and dump the water. I'm going to use the lid here to dump the water, and I'm going to dump them straight into ice cold water. If you don't have ice cold water, you can use your tap water, run it, and then put your broccoli underneath that. Once it's nice and cooled down, we're going to strain that. On a really hot pan, we're going to add a little bit of fat. Then we're going to add some chopped garlic or minced garlic. We're going to move that around because it will change color pretty quick and it will burn on you. Once that is tossed around for about, I don't know, 5 to 10 seconds, we're going to add the broccoli. That will cool down the pan. It'll help the garlic not to burn on you. Gonna mix that around, make sure that garlic gets onto that broccoli. So I'm tossing this around, just making sure that the garlic doesn't burn at this point. Toss a little knob of butter so that the broccoli can absorb some of that flavor, some of that fat. Just gonna keep moving that around. The pan at this point, you can bring down the heat. If it's too high, you can actually bring it all the way down or turn it off. I added a splash of soy sauce. Don't overdo it with the soy sauce. As you can see, the stem is starting to absorb the soy sauce and change color. You want it nice, bright, and green, the way it looks here. So just a tiny splash will do it. Simple, very easy. Soy sauce, garlic. The important thing here is the cooking method. You can flavor the broccoli whichever way you want to flavor it. I hope that you take away from this the process in which we cook the broccoli. As you can see, it's still a little firm. There's a little pushback on the fork. You want that. It's tender, but it still has like that little snap. That's the feel you want when you bite into it. So there you have it, perfectly cooked broccoli. Up next is the Mexican squash, aka calabacita. So for this one, very easy. We're gonna cut away the tips here, the sides. Some people say they get a little bitter, but they don't get bitter. There's a dish out there that uses the tips only. But for this purpose, we're gonna cut away the tips and we're gonna cut the Mexican squash in half. And I'm gonna go ahead and do quarters. So I'm gonna cut that half into half, and then that half into another half, and another half. We're gonna do the same with this half. Cut into quarters, and as you will see, they are pretty uniform. They don't have to be exact. The key here is that they're done cooking at about the same rate. So, and again, to a pan, we're gonna add a little bit of fat. We're gonna add the Mexican squash. I like to put the flesh down onto the pan and not the outer layer, just because it achieves color quicker and it cooks quicker, and it looks pretty good. It looks pretty good once it gets that little char, that little caramelization. And you want to check on them in about 30 seconds or so. You kind of flip them, look at the color. If that's the color that you want, you go ahead and start seasoning. Don't season before. If it's not the color that you want, like me right here, I just flip them back and then I try to get a little bit more of a char. Once it achieves the char that you want, that's when you season them. If you season them before, they're going to start to leach out water, and then they're going to begin to steam, and they're going to turn brown. And that's what we're trying to avoid here. For me, this looks pretty good. You can start seasoning at this point. And as I was doing this, I kind of got an idea, and it got me thinking, what would this taste like if I would add tahini? But instead I didn't have tahini, so I added salt, pepper. I added a little paprika. So in the comments, let me know if you try this. Try it with tahini. Let me know what that's like. As I was doing this, it just occurred to me, but I know I didn't have any tahini. Maybe even a spritz of lime here would work well. Since I didn't have any of that, I went ahead and looked for my chili crisp. So grab some chili crisp. I added it on here to provide that heat and a little bit of that oil, which actually went pretty well with this. So just move them around, kind of get that caramelized a little bit. You don't want them to go too far, then they will start changing color on you and will get pretty soggy. So there you have it, calabacita, straight to the pan with fat. You could use this as a little platform for your protein. Maybe a pork chop on top of this, or a nicely grilled chicken. That would go pretty well, pair pretty well with this. Perfectly executed calabacitas, if you ask me. They still retain their shape. They're not soggy or limp. They have good color, good caramelization, and they still have that little, that pushback, or that little snap, if you will. I don't know if you can see the center of there. It's still pretty fresh. It's not cooked 100%. It's not soggy, and the fork still kind of has to, fight to get in there. But it's a good kind of fight, and that's what you're looking for. Next, we're gonna do asparagus. So asparagus is gonna be even easier, if you ask me. So for this, you can see the tips are pretty dry. We go about 1/2 inch, cut that, and these are ready to go on a really hot pan. You're not gonna add any fat. Why? Because we're kind of gonna steam them for a little bit. We're gonna add about 4 to 6 ounces of water, and then we're gonna allow the water to steam it for a bit, not for too long. I did this for a few seconds. I made sure the bottoms got most of the steam. Then I went ahead and drained it. You can check, you can bite into the asparagus. If it has a nice little bite and you think it's ready, it's ready. You add the butter, you add your salt, pepper, whatever seasonings you want. The point here is for you to understand the cooking process, not really the way I'm seasoning the asparagus, even though this will go pretty well with any steak. So again, just move that around, make sure the garlic doesn't burn on you. It's already steamed. We're just kind of trying to like semi-char the garlic a little bit. Let those flavors incorporate. Let them get to know each other. Move it around. And you could try one at this point. Like I said, have a test one that you're constantly trying, and that will kind of guide you. And there you have it. Very easy asparagus. It only, honestly, this took maybe 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes at the most. Again, this is a platform for protein. I will go with a steak here. Nice little red wine. Perfectly executed asparagus. It's not limp. Bright green. So that's the importance of cooking vegetables correctly. You preserve the freshness. You preserve the bright colors. And most importantly, it preserves the texture. As you can see here, it still has that snap. So 3 vegetables, cooking it 3 different ways. Now you know. Peace.